We are honored that you would take your time today to spend it with us. We pray that you get out of this session everything you had hoped for and more. Raquel Soto helps high capacity humans stop fighting themselves and start moving daily. She's the creator of Task Animal. She teaches identity based execution where momentum replaces motivation. Her blend of neuroscience, behavior, and AI unlocks real time action. Today, stalled potential turns into consistent progress. Please help me welcome Raquel Soto. All right. So, Raquel, I hope that works. I want you to take it away. And I can't wait to hear more of your session. So, I'm going to be here and try to monitor it the best I can, probably in and out. But at the same time, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. So I would love to see in the chat how many of you have fallen for, or say even currently, I just need more motivation. If I would just be more disciplined, discipline is the main thing. You need discipline in your life. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to get what you want. You can put one in the chat if you believe that, zero in the chat if you don't. Or maybe three if you're like, sometimes I believe it, sometimes I don't. And I'm just going to be like, why? That's some BS that you've been told about motivation and discipline. And so this is why when we are trying to motivate ourselves, everybody's motivated, but not everybody's motivated the way we're motivated. And there's this thing around personality gift clusters. But what really makes us all equal is the way our brain works. When we have an open loop, right? We're like, oh, my word of the year is clarity. And your brain's like, oh, okay. So it gives you a little piece of clarity, says, done. We got some clarity. Because clarity in itself, that word is just a direction. It's just like we're going that way, but it's not a finite thing. If you want to actually hack your brain, it closed the loop. And so how do we close the loop? How do you get that good dopamine hit? Because dopamine, when you hear about it, it's like, oh yeah, the reward system. But the problem is, how do you get that dopamine? Your brain is your medicine man or your drug dealer. So when it's your drug dealer, what happens is that you start doing things and then, you're like using all your motivation, using all your discipline, and now you're having all these juicy chemicals just flush your whole body and you're going into chemical chaos instead of chemical bliss. Because the problem with drugs is that you're going to need more and more and more to get that same high. So then how do you then hack your brain to give you the sustainable dopamine? The sustainable dopamine is when you make a decision and you stick to it. A micro decision. That's how you build momentum. You've heard how, if you can say one in the chat or zero, but if you've heard this before, is one. If you have not, is zero. How many of you heard that it takes 21 days to build a habit? Right. That's actually not true. It doesn't take 21 days to build a habit. It takes a funky number. It's like 62 and a half days to build a habit. What 21 days does is create momentum. Momentum is what you want. Some people call it flow. That is what you need. So how do you create that momentum? How do you create that flow? By just making a micro decision. I tell my clients it's the 1% model. A lot of times people are like, I want to get 1% better. Yes, but how do you actually do that? How do you actually get 1% better? This is how. Because I'm like, oh, that all sounds good. But I'm like, I'm a person who's just like, why and how? Okay, that sounds really good. I'm excited, I'm motivated, but then you don't tell me how to do it. Tell me how to do it. And then I'm like, okay, this is the 1% model. It's 1% or less of your day. 1% is 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So what if you make a decision today that I'm going to work on this for only 1% of your day? Because when you say 15 minutes, sometimes your brain, especially if you're an overachiever and you already feel heavy, you already feel overwhelmed, you already feel anxiety, your brain is like, I don't have 15 minutes. Let's go do something else. Let's go over here where we can binge watch and relax in 15 minutes. Or you say, well, it's only 15 minutes, and then you don't get to it. but making a decision, I am going to invest in myself 1% or less, leave it open a day in this thing and what I want to do. And now your brain is like, okay, we can do 1%. Because in the body, it feels like, oh, that does not that much time. 1% is nothing. Or less, now you left yourself open and then you do it. But when you do it consistently, now your brain has closed the loop. Oh, I said I'm going to give myself 1% of a day, and I did it. Some juicy chemicals. Do it every single day, every single day. What's happening is like why we do mutual funds, right? The compound effect. And now you're getting a steady stream and you go into chemical bliss instead of chemical chaos. So instead of trying to be more disciplined, all you need to do is make a decision. That's it. And then, but making a decision means you're going to do it. The problem is that people are like, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to lose 60 pounds in 6 days. I'm going to be more disciplined. I want more clarity. And I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And before you know, you're shooting all over yourself. It's very simple. Make a decision. You're going to do something 1% or less. Put it on the calendar and do it. So you understand like why I'm like the task animal. People are like, oh my gosh, you have so much capacity. And I still have a full life. Since May of last year, I started a TV show that led to doing music. So now I have a record label that led to publication. So now I have a publication and I publish anthologies that led to launching a radio show at the end of January that's leading to a high-end magazine. Since May. And all these things have been done without me collapsing because I've learned how to do these things. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. It is really the 1%, sticking to that, making the decision and then doing it and giving yourself like, I'm going to do this thing. And you'll see that as you do it every single day, what's happening is that then it starts to create new neural pathways because 95% of your automatic decisions are subconscious. Your inner AI is running things for you. It's like a 3-year-old though. It's going to want to do what it wants to do and it will throw a tantrum. And this is how you trick it. Because it takes a lot of quantum energy in your brain to create those neural pathways to give you those automatic actions. So if you want to go into automation, because it's already doing it. You're wired to succeed this way. So this is how you go from default to design. Decide and do, keep it micro so that your brain is like, oh, you always do what you say. Oh, I like this. That's the reward you want. Completion. What happens is that when people are talking about reward, they're like, oh, I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to save this money. I'm going to do vacation. They do it to external things. And that's why it doesn't work long term. But if you allow your body to do what it's naturally wired to do, it will automatically start giving you the juice. Like, oh, wait, we did this yesterday. That felt good. And your body's like, ooh, that feels good. Let's do it again. Because your body wants that juice. It's like, that feels good. Let's do it again. So then the next day, you're doing it over and over again. Give yourself a season. A season is only 90 days. The time is going to pass anyway. You can be 1% better in 90 days every single day. So what is that going to look like in 90 days if you gave yourself permission to just be like, I'm going to try this. So whatever that is, 1% a day. You're like, well, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to do this thing. I'm trying to do that. It's not going to work. Yes, it does. It's always working. That's how you're wired. That's how God levels the playing field. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are, how dumb you think you are, how good looking you think you are, how not good looking you think you are. The people supporting you, not supporting you, it does not matter. You're wonderfully and beautifully made. And this is how God says, we're going to level the playing field. Hack your brain. Everything is actually in your hands, but you've been sold a bad bill of goods that you have to push in order to have. And that's why it doesn't feel good. And that's why you won't do it. There are like 10% of the people who can live by their sheer will. And what happens is that when somebody shows up in that, you should be more disciplined. You believe them because they're so convict. You see what they've accomplished and you see their conviction because that works for them. But 90% of the people are not wired to work that way. So when you're around somebody who is wired to do and live their life that way, and then you try to do it, what happens? You can't do it. And then you open yourself up to imposter syndrome. What's wrong with me? Nothing. You're just using the wrong method for how you are wired to succeed. There's nothing wrong with you. Those thoughts you're having, your brain is amazing, your inner AI, but it's also lazy. How many of us, one in the chat, zero if you have not experienced this, where chat has been lazy. It'll just give you some garbage and then you have to yell at it like, are you stupid? That is not what I said. What are you doing? That is not what I'm asking you to do, right? You're like, chat, you're supposed to be so smart and this is constantly reframing. You're like, wait. Your brain's the same way. It's only offering you the thoughts that you have been ruminating the last 45 to 60 days. 45 to 60 days. Where did I say that? Creating the habit. It's taking the habit patterns that you have in your brain and offering it to you, but it's only an offer. You don't have to take the offer. You'd be like, oh yeah, maybe up to this point I was doing that, but today we're going to do something different. Agree with your brain. The good book says to agree with your adversary quickly. Sometimes your brain is your adversary. It's like, but we've been doing this. And you're like, oh yeah, we've been acknowledge. Yes, we've been doing this, but, or up to this point, and now we're going to do something different. That way it releases you from the hold in your body. Like, I don't want to do something new. It never wants to do something new. Like I said, it takes a lot of quantum energy to do that. It doesn't want to create the new grooves. It's trying to keep you alive. It's keeping you within your own belief systems. It has to have an internal filter, which is your default mode network. And then it works to your reticular activating system, your eyes, your external. It's doing a lot of things, keeping you in your own boundaries, in your boundaries. The good book talks about like guarding your heart with all guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it are the issues, the boundaries, the limitations of your life. You set the limits. God gave you the agency to set the boundaries, to set the limits. We are created to rule and reign that way. But when we don't understand what's happening internally, then we try to do all the things and then you're exhausted. So doing that, hack your internal brain, your internal AI, things will start going smoother. And now let's talk about content, right? The external things. And this is the stuff that, where's my phone? Well, because I wanted to share something from my phone. This starts to happen. Okay, one in the chat if you've heard this, zero if you have not, that it's important for you to figure out who your avatar is. So that way you can speak to them. Yeah. What you heard about that is mostly BS. And I'm going to tell you why. So this is the first hack. Why, if you're using AI, why it's not converting? Because your who is their personality, right? Their personality is their personal reality. So for instance, when you're looking at who you like to work for, I like to use the DISC model, DISC, because it's the easiest to spot. It's the easiest. People use different kind of things, and they've actually reformulated it to call it different things, but it's all DISC. Once you learn it, you can't unsee it. It's all the same, and they just repurpose it, and then they're going to want to charge you $3,000. So here's the $3,000 to $5,000. So I'm going to save you money right now. DISC, dominant. These, you know who they are, and everybody's all of these, and depending, right? When I'm working, I'm a task animal, which is a CD, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then, but when I'm with people, I'm a double people person. So if I have my natural state is a salt of the earth influencer, but when I'm hyper like this, now I'm in my influencer, like let's party, because I'm in a different environment. So D is somebody who is dominant. You know who they are. They usually wear all black. They're walking in the room. It's like boom, boom, boom on their feet. They're scanning the room. They're somebody who likes to speak in bullet points. So if you're somebody who likes to be in a lot of detail, a lot of detail to give them, they're giving you signals like pick it up, pick it up. Those are dominant people. And a lot of people want to work with dominants, but then they don't know how to speak to them. Influencers, generally speaking, they're generally speaking. They're the life of the party. We have like colorful things behind us. We like a lot of color, right? The thing with us is you want us in your events because we'll get everybody talking, everybody moving, everybody like in the party mood. But don't ask us to bring anything to the barbecue that's not like paper plates and soda because we'll forget. And on the way there, we're like, I'm supposed to bring something. What was that again? Don't get that person something like a main thing to bring to the party because we're going to forget. But our superpower is to be able to think outside of the box. Just like a dominant person sees vision, right? So the big picture person. They're both big picture people. But the influencer is a people person and the dominant is hyper focused, right? These are the people when they have a high energy here, they end up like talking about the will and discipline a lot. Then you have the salt of the earth, the S. You know them. They're the kumbaya, come, they have a poster that goes like this and and it's like, hang in there, baby. They're the one who like everything gets done. They're the backbone. They're also the ones that are not noticed as much because they do so much. They're the ones who are always giving the quiet yes. They're the nurturers. And then you have the C's, which are critical thinkers. Now we all have critical thinking, but these people, if you give them a project too early, they're gifted in punching holes. So they might be mislabeled as negative nullies. They're not negative. They just have the ability to save you money, save you time, save you energy by saying all the ways it's not going to work. So if you're sensitive about your project, don't give it to that person yet. Wait until you talk to the other ones, get a blueprint, and then give it to your critical thinking friend and be like, tell me all the ways this won't work. And they're like, let's go. I've been waiting for somebody to tap into my genius. Now, I attract a lot of critical thinkers because opposites attract. But this is the who. Who do you like to work with? You're not leaving anybody out. That part is true. When you hear you're not leaving anybody out, but you do have to focus. Like I work with most of my clients are IDs or DIs. And that's going to mean something a little bit later as I go through the next part of it. So when I'm speaking through that lens. It doesn't mean I have still a lot of critical thinkers because that's the person who will read every single post, go to your website and read everything, even the terms of conditions. And they will come back 6 months later to buy your $25 product. But they'll come back. But they need time. Somebody like a dominant personality, when they're in that mode, they're going to make faster decisions. Influencer people make faster decisions. Salt of the earth need time because they need to make sure that it's going to fit with community, tribe. That's what's important to them. And that's going to make more sense as I talk about the next piece for you. So, and then critical thinkers, right? They're analytical. They want to see your frameworks. They're going to read everything. You know how they have like what is that called? Like when you build your web page and you have all the things and all the things. It's like 10 pages long. They're going to read every single word. And the thing is, you don't know what mood your person is going to be in, right? Like if I'm in my task animal mode, which is a critical thinker dominant, I'm moving very fast, but also very analytical. If I'm in that energy, I'm going to read the whole page. But like I said, most of my people are DEIs and IDs. So I speak to them. So that's going to be number one. Who is your person? And if you want more help with that, my session is going to be on March 20th at noon CST. And I'm going to help you with your content so we can do some live things together. Second one is tone. Sometimes people are not using the right tone. And so when you're doing your, working with AI, if you're not sure, start to feed in the things in AI, like, okay, this is who this person is, this is what they look like, this is their background, this is what they wear, this is what they're always saying, where do they fit? So that takes care of one in the AI. The second thing is your tone. Now, this is going to be through the needs list because I actually had to step away from being a speaker because they were talking about wanting to have somebody who was, self-actualized as the people that we're going to talk to through the content, but their language was actually in the first one about needs. And so that's why your content doesn't convert. Because if you want a certain kind of person in a different level, then you need to speak to them at that level. It doesn't mean that the other levels are not listening. We're all nosy, we're listening. But if you want to be being called to do a certain thing, like I do a lot of legacy work, I need to speak legacy ripples, your work outliving you. So you start looking at my content, a lot of it is about that. A lot of the work I do, most of the work I do is around that. But I'm speaking to that person. Do I have people in the others? 100%. On what time? It's going to be noon CST on March 20th. So in the next few minutes, we're going to go through the needs. I'm going to give you examples with the hooks. And don't worry, because what I'm going to do is I see everybody who's here. I'm going to download the chat. That's why I'm like, okay, go ahead and put the information in. And I'm going to email you on Monday once I get the emails, everything I'm talking about here. So you can just listen. You have to be like, what did she say? I was just like, I'm going to give you a quick sheet so you can get going. But okay, so the first one is, right, physiological needs. We hear about that: food, water, shelter, survival. But what does that look like in an example as a hook? How to make $1,000 this month. Quick meal prep for busy moms. How to stop waking up exhausted. 3 ways to get clients fast. So this type of content is going to perform well because it's solving an immediate pain. This is also where you can make a lot of money because there's a lot of people, and we all have like these pain points, right? In survival, but these are very, very specific. So what happened in this transparency is that they were speaking to this level, and when we get to the other level, you'll see where the disconnect was. And that's why the content that you're creating through AI is disconnected, because you're saying one thing of who you want to serve, but you're writing in another way. Second one is safety needs: security, stability, and protection. So what does that look like? Your hooks. How to create predictable income, avoid these 5 financial mistakes, build a recession-proof business, how to protect your peace. So people engage because they want reassurance. The first one is just like, get me out of this hole. The second one is like, I need reassurance. The third one is love and belonging, connection, relationships, community. So in context, this is going to look like, right? Because it's identity and tribe. If you're the black sheep of your family, read this. I do some of those. Point of view: you're building a business no one understands. Entrepreneurs who feel lonely, this is for you. And this is where community brands, they thrive. Esteem, this is where I work as well. Respect, they want respect, which is usually dominant personalities, right? So you're talking about like personality gift clusters. Love and belonging, people who have a heavy S, right? They're the salt of the earth. This is who you're speaking to in love and belonging. Esteem, these are your hooks. How to become known in your industry. Build a personal brand that people respect. Stop playing small. How high performers think differently. Luxury brands and personal brands, this is where you live. Self-actualization. A lot of people think they want to work with people who are self-actualization, but their offers and their products actually don't speak to them. And that's fine. It's fine. You just have to know who you are and how you're built and what your current season is, So that way you can connect with them in a way that is really powerful. So the hooks for them, you weren't meant to live small. See, it's different from the other one. It says, stop playing small. To now reminding them, hey, you weren't meant to. It's language, it's nuanced. You weren't meant to live small. Build a life you actually want. Your next level requires this. Step into your calling. This is transformational messaging. A lot of people I know, they call themselves transformational coaches. They are not. At least they're not speaking that language. They are actually speaking from the first tier. So now they're 4 tiers away. They're saying they're a transformational coach, but they're actually speaking to, they want this people, but they're down here. And that's fine. But when there's a disconnect, people are not going to be, they're like, oh, I love your content. But nobody's coming into your DMs. Nobody's saying, shut up and take my money. Nobody's asking for more information. They're not asking for more information and frankly, in there either. It doesn't mean you have to change your offers or your products. It's just really being a scientist and be like, okay, what is on my heart to offer right now? And therefore, that offer that's on your heart speaks to the people you're called to serve. So if there's a disconnect and you're not having the conversations and people are not coming in, that's all it is. It's just a disconnect. So people talk about alignment. I'm an alignment person too. But you have to be aligned and not fantasize about somebody. It's not working because you're fantasizing about people, the wrong people at the wrong time. But your offer is for a specific person. That's why it's in your heart. And they might be in different, a combination of levels. Like mine is like self-actualization and not love and belonging. I don't do really community work that much anymore. I do have a community, but I only meet with them once a month. But I work in legacy. And so those are the people who are attracted to me because I talk about that all the time. So why this matters, right? So let me give you some example. How these things fit together. Let's say you're selling fitness and that's going to be the physical stuff that they need and esteem. See how it combines? So you're like, okay, if I'm about fitness, then who am I talking to? Then you want to create content that speaks to, yes, here are the 5 things that you can do today to drop that weight, but also speak to the esteem. And now you're combining those 2 things for tone. Are you selling financial coaching? Then you are selling safety and esteem. Are you selling community programs? Then you're selling to belonging. Are you selling mindset coaching? Then you're selling to esteem and self-actualization. So you're not writing these posts, you're actually engineering emotional triggers. Because people always tell you this as well. One in the chat, if you've heard this, 0 if you have not. People buy from their feelings. And people always buy from emotion. You're like, oh no, they buy from emotion. They don't. They buy from their thoughts because it's the thoughts. This is the way your brain works, and it works for everybody. It's your thoughts, trigger an emotion, triggers an action or non-action. Period. That's why they buy. So you're trying to trigger yes their emotion because you want to draw them in to create some resonance. But your job and your content is to shift their thinking. If you can change their thinking, their emotions automatically follow, and so do their actions. I have a 75% closing rate. The reason I do is because the content should be doing the heavy lifting. Right? They're knowing who I am, who I'm talking to. I have all these, and in March, we're going to go into even deeper or like the different kinds of content you should be creating. let that do the heavy lifting, because by the time they get to me, they're like, girl, you're doing all the things, 75%. They may not, they always, 75% of the conversations are either by then or they tell me to follow up with them. And when I do, whether it's next week, next month, or 2 months from now, they buy. Because they're going to buy when they're ready to buy, not when we're ready to buy, have them buy. That's not the point. I want people to be empowered. I'm not going to manipulate you. Can I? Yes. I know exactly what to tell you in order for you to be like, okay, fine. I know exactly what buttons to push because I understand the brain. I understand how you buy. I understand buyer psychology, but I don't because I want empowered people. Otherwise, if I get disempowered people, I'm going to have to be dragging them. I don't want disempowered people. I want you to feel good and be like, girl, where you been all my life? I'm going to give you all my money. That's who you want. And those are the hooks. Those are the hooks. When you understand who you're called to serve, when you look at your offer and be like, who does this help at a fundamental level through those needs, and then start speaking through those needs. Like another thing too that I'll be showing in March, because we're gonna have a few seconds. So you want to be part of this, come in, is that all the frameworks you've been learning, how to put them into your AI in the right way. So when you're adding all these pieces together, it's going to sound like you, but it's also going to utilize all the sales things that you actually have been learning. So that's all the time I have for today. I hope this has been really helpful, and I can't wait to see you in a few weeks.